There had long been rumors of Baltimore police controlling the dope trade on Pennsylvania Avenue. And in the months before Berman's arrest, several dealers who could link high-ranking brass to dope sales were mysteriously killed. Rufus Tate was an elder statesman of the Baltimore City drug trade. Born in 1918, he began his life of crime in the early 1930s. Tate had arrests from everything from automobile theft to armed robbery and drug peddling. But by the late 1930s, he had graduated to large-scale heroin dealing along the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor. In 1939, he was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in a large-scale heroin ring. But stiff prison sentences didn't deter him, and 30 years later, he was still in the game. In 1968, Tate was again arrested for operating a large-scale heroin ring in the 1500 block of Pennsylvania Avenue. He was sentenced to 10 years as a repeat drug offender and was sent to federal prison to serve his time. When the allegations of police involvement in the Pennsylvania Avenue drug trade surfaced, he was contacted by prosecutors and offered a deal. He agreed to cooperate, giving the names of several officers who accepted bribes from him, and he was released into protective custody, pending his testimony. Living in his government-provided apartment in Minnesota, under the protection of federal authorities, he died suddenly of a diabetic coma, but not before writing a letter. On August 7th, the same day that Rufus Tate died, attorneys for Colonel Watkins received the deathbed confession written by Tate stating that he was forced to lie about giving bribes to officers. The letter exonerated Watkins, but Rufus Tate's family was suspicious of the death reports. They wanted to know why Tate was refused medicine and life-saving treatment while under the watch of the witness protection. The coincidences continued when in September of 1976, a 15-year-old girl connected to Elijah Ditty Wo Davis was stabbed, shot, and left for dead. Ditty Wo was a major drug dealer who sold cough syrup, barbiturates, and heroin since the 1960s. He paid bribes to officers to avoid arrest, but this would ultimately be his demise. The young lady who was shot had information on Ditty Wo's payoffs to local cops, and he placed a hit on her for divulging that information. Police declined to investigate, and the assailants were never arrested. The girl's family complained to Internal Affairs, and an investigation was launched. Local officials formed a committee to investigate her case and the corruption on the Baltimore City Police Force. Federal authorities placed the girl in protective custody and transported her to an area hotel to be interviewed by members of the Anti-Corruption Task Force.
She was in custody from Friday night until I went to 211, I think it is, Madison Street, and placed a bond to get her. I don't know where they had her. I don't know where they kept her from then even up until now.
And are there any official charges against her?
No. There's no official charge against her. They had said that they had placed the bond on her for security, for her protection.
While she was being questioned by Detective David Bryce and Congressman Perrin Mitchell, she told them of Elijah Davis's drug dealing operation and of his bribes to Colonel among others. She stated that she delivered $1,000 to Detective Smoot on behalf of Davis in the summer of '76.
Yes, I told Congressman Mitchell I gave a detective $1,000.
As she was given key details to investigators, Ditty Wo was shot to death while sitting in his Mark 7 in the 1000 block of Calhoun Street. Many believe this was an effort to silence dealers who could link the police to drug activity.
Newswatch to learn today that there will be no immediate indictments growing out of the state's attorney's investigation into the circumstances surrounding the gangland-type slaying of a known drug dealer or out of the reported bribe of a narcotics detective.
Ditty Wo's killers were later identified as members of the Kane organization, an elusive drug syndicate that some say operated with the help of law enforcement. Its leader, Philip Ghost Kane, had his own shaky past. In 1969, he and fellow dealer Ansel Tucky Holland were arrested for a plot to kill Baltimore Police Sergeant Derenberger. Kane and Holland had a business relationship with the officer and allegedly paid him thousands in bribes in exchange to operate their drug business unimpeded. But for some reason, he reneged on his word and led a raid of the gang's stash house, seizing ounces of heroin and thousands in cash. Incensed, Kane and Holland allegedly placed a hit on Derenberger, but the information leaked to law enforcement, and the men were charged. The officer was never investigated for receiving bribes, and Kane somehow evaded prison time for the charge. Philip Ghost Kane lived up to his nickname, remaining in the shadows until he was arrested in 1978 for operating a continuing criminal enterprise. The case against him was so vast, it listed 20 unindicted co-conspirators, including Little Melvin, Charles Robinson, and Brother Krumer. The Kane organization was accused of transporting heroin from New York to be sold in West Baltimore from 1968 through 1978. The organization was also accused of smuggling stolen guns from Virginia into Baltimore. Coincidentally, one of those guns was used in the hit on Elijah Davis. Kane's co-defendants, Henry Eugene Richardson and Gregory Jones, were arrested and charged with the murder of Elijah Davis, as well as the unrelated killing of another man during a dice game. They were also charged with a supermarket robbery that would later be allegedly planned by members of law enforcement. Kane initially fingered 2 of his associates as the triggerman. His cooperation earned him a 5-year prison sentence. His underling Gregory Jones was convicted of being part of a continuing criminal enterprise, as well as the murder of Elijah Davis. He was sentenced to 35 years. Jones asked to serve his time in federal prison because he feared he would be killed by Davis associates if he was sent to state prison. After serving 6 years out of a 10-year federal sentence for drug charges and gun smuggling, Jones was released from federal custody. In a bureaucratic snafu, authorities failed to turn him over to serve his state prison sentence for murder. He was released on probation in what officials would later say was an error. This mistake had disastrous consequences.
Baltimore County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
3761 Bryce Run Road. They just came in and shot all of us. My husband and daughter are still in the house.
October 20th, 1984, mid-level drug dealer Charles Squeaky Jordan was at home with his wife Linda and their 18-year-old daughter Lisa Lynn Brown.
They came dressed as police officers and told us they had a warrant. They handcuffed us and made us get down on the ground.
One black man and 2 white men, dressed as police officers flashing what appeared to be a warrant, entered the home and placed all 3 people in handcuffs.
They handcuffed us and made us get down on the ground.
Charles, Lisa, and Linda were all shot multiple times point-blank range. Linda Jordan survived, but Charles and his daughter were killed. With alleged DNA evidence and testimony from the survivor, county investigators were able to identify the 2 white men, and Charles, and the black man was identified as Gregory Jones. Gregory Jones was sentenced to death for his role in the killing, but the sentence was later commuted to life. Was sentenced to life in prison, but his conviction would be overturned. He was released from prison in 2003 and committed suicide 12 years later in 2015.